Yo, yo. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's going on, peoples? Hello. What's shaking? I tell you what's not shaking. We got no patch notes. Hey, Moses. What's up? Here I thought yesterday I'd be coming late to the party, but we got no patch notes. Oh my God. We gotta. What the fuck? Sorry, guys. I'm just seeing if I can get any news. Doesn't look like it. Not seeing anything. I did hear that they were going to come tonight. Just, we don't know when. That's all I got for you. I'm frantically refreshing here. It's going to be one of those nights, I think. I think it's going to be one of those nights. There's nothing here. I don't think they even tweeted anything. No. What's
So
there?
keep in mind, like I think I built at least 3 full temples on different characters. And when you're building a temple, normally it takes forever. And why does it take forever? Well, it takes forever because you don't have the jalapenos, the locking medallion.
They're talking about temples. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think this might be a late one. I think this might be a late one. I don't know. Is there anything we can watch while we wait? Thing is, if we start watching something, all right, this is what I'm gonna do here. Man, these videos. All right. me turn off the music.
Hi, Citron here. There's a bunch of PoE videos I haven't seen, so I'm just going to make like a bit of a news roundup and go over what we missed. So if you've missed the last 4 videos from GGG, then we're going to look over that now. So this is the new unique items and then expedition update. And then you need to see these ascendancy changes. Love the title. And then the breach rework recap is what we're going to be looking over in this video.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile.
Face Breakers.
Today, we'd like to showcase 2 more unique items. First up, we have the Auspex, an attire to drive your foes mad with. And then
he's
a
watching
remake
the
of a
videos
Path of Exile 1
it.
classic, Facebreaker, which provides a variety of ways
Helping
to
and
bring
hit
the
with
ultimate beatdown on your enemies. These are both coming in Return of the Ancients. In ancient times, a lost child was taken in by an Asmeri village.
I was crying.
The Auspex of the village declared him an ill omen, as their crops soured and their
It's 11
days
o'clock
darkened.
in the morning right now.
Thereafter, ravens gathered and mists descended, following him, driving him deeper and deeper into madness. Harness that madness and become the Auspex yourself.
So they've probably
Summon
been
a
in the
singular
office
mist
like
raven, a minion that will ravage your
2
foes
hours.
and
Dive bomb?
kill enemies.
3 hours.
The Mist Raven has a unique command skill, which causes it to dive at your targets, shattering reality and creating an explosion of madness. Enemies killed by the Mist Raven will also grant you frenzy charges, giving the Raven extra utility. The Mist Raven also causes enemies in your presence.
You get fancy charges on bosses though. Like I think personally, I don't know how people feel about this, but I'm not a big fan of charges in general, just as a whole in PoE 2. I think it's very annoying. Charges just have not been a fun mechanic for me.
A slowing debuff that empowers your...
This will fix every problem. There's 2 things that they've done really well in PoE 1 that makes so much infinitely sense for PoE 2, and it's bloodlines and masteries. Obviously, like by watching podcasts, we've seen a little bit of like a disagreement there. It seems like between Jonathan and Mark, where Mark came up with the idea of masteries. If you don't know what a mastery is, it's basically when you take like the final fire node in a cluster, you get access to a mastery, and then you can choose one of 6. That would be the same for every fire node, right? So whether you're in the northwest of the tree or the south of the tree, once you pick that final fire node, you get to choose one of 6 masteries. And I think that's a really, really... I love it. I'm a huge fan. So hopefully... Why didn't we get masteries again? Jonathan doesn't like them was the indication. Like, and he did, like, yeah, they talked about it a little bit. I can't remember exactly, but it just seems like a pro and con thing, I guess. Like, they just discussed it and decided they didn't want to try it. Everybody takes the best 1 or 2. But I think there's a lot of good choices, though. And, like, for example, the life masteries, there's a really good reason to take all of them. For me, whenever the mastery is so good that it makes you path differently because you want an additional mastery, then they're done right. Yeah, I also want life nodes on the tree. Either way, though, these ascendancy changes look really good. Like I said, I have some concerns about Chronomancer, but obviously it's stupid to like overreact early when we can't even see them. But that's pretty neat. Let's look at the last one. This is a longer one. This is the Breach rework recap.
We're not gonna watch that. We've already seen the video.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Path to Exile podcast, episode 44, partner with Mobalytics. I am Cal Torak, and joining me per usual is Miso, Shiro, and Dead Rabbit. And if you're new here, we have our audio-only format on Apple Music and Spotify. So if you prefer to listen instead of watch, check us out over there. And if you do, give us a rating. And for anyone watching this on YouTube, today is the day the patch notes come out, but we do not have the patch notes as of reading this. By the time you're watching on YouTube, you'll probably be like, why aren't they talking about the patch notes? Well, it's because... unfortunate timing. You can blame me for scheduling it today instead of tomorrow, but yeah, no patch note talks today. But we do have a great conversation today with the legendary guide maker, build maker extraordinaire. We have Pox. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Nice, or happy to be here. Pretty excited to talk about Path of Exile.
How are you enjoying the new PoE 1 and PoE 2 cycle? I love asking this to all the PoE 1 vets because they always have different answers. Some of them have, ARPG fatigue, but some of them, like Captain Lance, he's still playing Mirage League. So, it hits different per person. How are you enjoying this?
Honestly, I think I am feeling a little bit of fatigue now, but I think the fatigue is mainly for like the league prep and not really for playing the league. Does that kind of make sense? I think that's maybe exemplified a little bit because of like the current 3 week drip we have. But overall, since they talked about having a new designated team for PoE 1, I'm really happy with the cycle because it feels more consistent now.
Yeah.
I wonder,
speaking of like,
I wonder how the cycle is going to get affected with like the league getting somewhat delayed, the PoE2 league getting somewhat delayed. Because originally I think we were probably expecting like June, July for PoE1, and I wonder if they're planning to like keep that same timing or if they're going to push it back a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know.
I do think like overall, I think if they kind of push back PoE1 for a little bit, they do have kind of a good excuse at least. I do think that a lot of people would understand the whole excuse that everything, and I think Jonathan even said it in one of the interviews, like as soon as 0.5 is out, everything in their power is going to be focused on 1.0 for PoE2. So I don't believe the whole thing about like very two separate teams yet. I've yet to see like the evidence for actually having two separate teams.
Welcome,
I don't know
man.
how that would be
Patch
possible
notes
overall,
hype.
but
yeah, the hype without the hype.
Interview at one point, they said something about
no patch notes though.
So from what I remember,
hopefully
correct me if I'm wrong. Like let's dial back to like PoE2 coming out.
I'm refreshing off screen, guys. So believe me, I'm checking.
0.1.
I'm checking.
They needed to bring everyone from PoE1
as soon as they're posted. We'll go right to it.
I don't know, like coders, engineers. I'm not really good at that part. They can't like just train new people, right? Like they need those experienced users. But now that time has kind of went on,
like, I understand the thought process that Path of Exile 1 potentially the league is going to get out of cadence, but here's my thought process on it. We know 1.0 is the next update. We know, well, we don't know, but all speculation. Hey, JJ, howdy. Welcome, brother. Everyone is speculating that 1.0 is happening in December. That would make 0.5 a 6-7 month leak. And I'm kind of with everyone on that. I've been pretty well consistent with that I too agree with the speculation. They're going to make the big announcement in November in ExileCon, and 1.0 is coming in December. Jonathan's already stated and confirmed that 1.0 is the next patch. It's happening in 2026. So who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us and it'll happen in the end of November instead of December. But regardless, 1.0 is happening. So 0.5 is going to be a very long leak, and they're going to have one or two resets, right? Where they're going to, balance, tinker with shit that needs to be addressed, right? Cool. They're not going to do any major content drops. I'm paraphrasing. So what does that mean for PoE 1? Now, it's a big push, obviously. Jesus. The push to 1.0 is a big one. It's a big haul. They got a lot to do. Because, look, if it's true, they're going to be promoting it. Their big announcement's going to happen in ExileCon. So you got this big audience. A lot of people spend a lot of money to get down there. So you want a big bang there. So a big bang is not that 1.0 is happening in 2026. They have already let that cat out of the bag. So you've taken that surprise out. Personally, I would have kept that. But I understand why they did it, because then they'd have to explain in 3 months why there's no new leak. So I understand why. So they got ahead of the complaining. So I understand that. So they need to, who knows? It's going to probably be a class. It could be swords, the third ascendancy, which Jonathan's already stated on record that it's a 50-50 flip on whether or not it's going to be there for 1.0. So there's all these things that are missing in the game that they could potentially add. I personally think they're going to announce swords, since everybody wants swords. That's a great moment. But Path of Exile 1, they have dedicated people that are working on PoE 1. They know how it works. They know how to manage it. The only way I see it being delayed is if what Dead Rabbit just said, that they're so focused on 1.0 that they're pulling the 2 or 3 resources that apparently are dedicated to PoE 1. Because remember, there's dedicated teams now. And take that with a grain of salt, because the dedicated team for Path of Exile, I think, is 3 people. 2 or 3 people, I think. So I think they can keep a regular cadence with Path of Exile 1. But, you know, we'll see. But I understand the logic behind why people are saying, hey, man, their focus is going to be on 1.0. PoE 1's going to take a hit. So anyway, I guess we're going to find out. Hey, Miko. How you doing, bro?
Some of the users have become much more experienced and gotten to kind of show what they're able to do. And from what I'm aware of, I think it's Octavian plus some others are primarily focusing. Like, I thought I heard them literally say, like, we now have a dedicated team since we got past the rough parts of PoE 2.
They do.
And that's kind of what's happening there, because they said they don't need a lot of people for PoE 1. They just need people who really understand it.
Mm-hmm. And
That
they
makes sense.
also mentioned.
How do we
on
know
one of the
today's the
interviews,
patch
they
note
said
day?
that
Because that's
Mark has now.
Oh my god!
He's now.
So when they did the live reveal, when they did the 05 live reveal, they said the patch notes were going to take a little. Typically, when they do a live reveal, they drop the patch notes like within 24 hours. And they announced on the live reveal that day that because it's such a huge content drop, they need a little bit more time, and that the patch notes would be coming out on the 21st. So GGG announced that date on the live reveal. So that's how we know it's today.
I'm blanking on the specific word, but he's now put people in positions where he doesn't need to be the one making all the decisions and all the choices over on PoE 1. He has people there who he can trust
You're
to
right.
make those decisions, and him just being able to just like sign off instead of actually being there to do everything. And they mentioned that specifically in one of the interviews as well.
Bro, I went to sleep, but mind you, I've been thinking about this day for a while. But I went to sleep. That was my last thought. I got up this morning to go to work, and that was my thought. So, believe me, I can't wait. I can't wait. Because hopefully these patch notes, they're going to give us the winners and losers, the buffs, the nerfs, what's happening, and we can finally stop speculating, hopefully. And, you know, personally, selfishly, I want to, you know, start working towards picking what I'm going to play.
Have they mentioned anything regarding PoE 1 in the meantime?
Nope.
That's why, like, I was confused when you guys alluded to that. Like, I would be, like, I don't know, I'd be surprised if we didn't get 3.29 before ExileCon.
Oh, we're
I
100% get
Yeah,
before
I
ExileCon.
mean,
Rez!
100%.
No
we
way
should
we're
be
not
getting
getting
I feel
anything between
Rez,
then, right?
how are you,
Yeah.
bro?
I would hope so.
Hope you're doing good, buddy.
Yeah, because we also have a 6-month league in PoE2 again. I mean, yes, there's going to be challenge leagues or whatever, but it's still going to be a 6-month league for PoE2. So I hope there's going to be another
6 to 7
good,
months.
Sure.
PoE1 league. So yeah, sure. Okay. Surely, hopefully.
No,
Yes,
we're gonna get a
definitely.
PoE one
that would
league.
be like that
Come
would be
on.
like almost another 4
Am I
year
going, Bose?
league, and
I have
that
no
would be
idea.
bad. I mean, granted,
Yes.
Mirage League is
Yeah,
great.
but-
I mean, don't get me wrong, Mirage League
Right
is
now, the
amazing,
front
absolutely
runner
amazing mechanic,
is
but
I
Spirit
think
Walker.
I did 11 resets and settlers, and I'm not ready to do that again.
Understandable.
I'm not, man.
So
Yeah,
if it's at least for Pox's mental health, please, GGG, give us another good, fast PoE 1 league. So let's go.
yeah, I'd be shocked if we didn't. You're talking about like the amount of work that goes into these league starts, especially now that if you're like going to be alternating between 2 games. But we're getting this new in-game guide support, where the .build files and stuff, and that's something very new to both Path of Exile 1 and 2. And I'm just curious your general thoughts on it. Were you surprised when this got like announced in the way it was? We knew something was coming, but
Yeah, I was surprised because
got
I guess I'm
family in
still used
town?
to old development like standards with PoE 1 where they were against I think they were against something like this. I remember they were talking about adding a build planner to it, and then they just took it out and never spoke about it ever again. So I was surprised to see it making its way into PoE 2, and now I think it will eventually make its way back into PoE 1. It's funny because I already do this. Like in my POBs, I already right click and add custom configures, like text to each piece of gear already. So this is just making my life easier to an extent. I'm really hoping like POB is on top of it and just makes it super easy.
I'm sure all you guys know this, but the gentleman on the bottom right of the screen, Pox, he is responsible for the Righteous Fire build. He has a website dedicated to it. I'm sure you guys already know this, but just in case there's someone here that plays the build and doesn't know, like the amount of work that guy has done on that build that so many people play. He has, I mean, the amount of hand holding he does with his guides, his documents, his website, it literally spoon feeds you everything you need to know about the Righteous Fire build in Path of Exile 1. That it's unbelievable. So I totally understand when he talks about, because I see the amount of work that he must have put into it. But man, he's an unbelievable content creator and really huge asset to the Path of Exile community. But he's the Righteous Fire guy.
Easy for us to do like an export, and then you can just like type up really easily, and then it's just bam, done. Because it would be a nightmare if you think about it. On some of my like extended builds, you have like 8 or 9 loadouts going from like campaign leveling. And to be fair, a lot of the information is copy pasted across some of them. Like, you know, it's not like you're going to change your affixes on your gloves from level 20 to 40, right? So as long as they make the feature smooth, I'm really excited for it. And I think people are still going to use written guides, probably similar as much as they used before. It's just now people are going to have a much easier access to acquiring the information that they already have. It's just on a tab instead of being in game.
Yeah, and Mobalytics did announce today, or at least to us partners, that they will be supporting the .build file stuff. So hopefully, POB did announce that by launch for Stir, they're having support for it. So hopefully.
Nice. You're tied up for the next 3 weeks with family in town for your kid's graduation. Limited time to watch and play outside of driving home. I get it, Rez. Hey, man, family first. I totally get it. The game's going to be here, man. Game's going to be here when you have time. And you know what? It sucks that, you know, you're going to have to watch from afar the next 3 weeks. But you know what? It is what it is. Family comes first. Totally get it. I potentially was going to have a major conflict when we still didn't know when 05 was coming. At the time, it was speculated it was going to come either May 8th or May 15th. That was kind of like the speculation, but more people were leaning towards the first week of May. And I had family coming in town that night, May 8th. So leading up to it, before the announcement, I was telling, you know, on stream that Like if it happens on May 8th, I'm fucked. Because family's going to be in town. Now, they ended up canceling, and they're now coming in July. And then, of course, it got delayed anyway to May 29th. But, you know, the shit happens, bro. Get the lube ready. What's up, Sir Groove a lot? Yeah, man. Like everybody is just stalling right now. Everybody's stalling. I'm constantly refreshing here to see, but nothing. How you doing, Sir Groove a lot?
Yeah, and I mean, I think like I completely agree with like how people are still going to be using these build sites. I think because they're probably going to have to go through these build sites to actually get the .build file, at least for the foreseeable future, until they do something like Filter Blade, where they have like an in-game integration with it. But the one thing, so I'm excited about that. But the one thing that does, you know, potentially affect things, and I hope this doesn't
excited
ever
for patch
affect the
notes.
bottom
Yeah,
line
we
of
all
these
are,
sites
brother.
too much, is that a lot of times people did, you know, visit the sites over and over again to they they turn off their computer or they close their browser, and then eventually they come back to Poe the next day, and then they turn it back on. So that's like a separate visit. I hope this makes it so you don't really have to do that anymore if you just want to get the passive tree. So I hope it doesn't affect their bottom line too much, but we'll kind of have to see about that, right?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the initial concerns that I voiced, because at least a large amount of income for a lot of content creators comes from being partnered by a build website. But I think what happens is, because these games are still naturally so complex, people will immediately, the first thing they'll do is they'll try to read, and then ADHD kicks in, 5 seconds go by, they snag the POB, they download the INI, and they start playing the game like, oh, this is really cool. And then they're just inevitably gonna fuck something up. It's gonna happen, right? Like A, B, C, and then they just put an F, and they're like, what is happening? They're gonna come to the stream and they're gonna ask a question. You're gonna do your best to answer, and eventually they're just gonna go back to the source and just spend a little bit, and they'll be like, oh, I'm so dumb, I could have just done this. So I feel like, maybe I'm just being too much on the positive side of things, but I still feel like people are going to be using these sources inevitably when they get stuck.
Yeah, probably.
I also think like overall specifically when we were talking about mobalytics or something.
Here we go, boys. Here we go. Content update 5.0, Path of Exile 2. Attaboy, so groove a lot. What the fuck? Hold on. The Path of Exile 2 patch notes are here. Get ready to dive into massive endgame changes. New Ascendancy class is powerful. Nice. Okay. Here we go, boys. The Ruins of Uldur League. Start fresh in the new economy with the Ruins of Uldur League. In each area in the Ruins of Uldur League, you will find a remnant, which allows you to craft an item of your choosing by using runic receipts engraved into the slots of the remnant. Yep. Dependent on the rune shapes used, you will then face an encounter with tough enemies that you will need to defeat to claim your item. Each additional rune shape used to craft the item will increase the number of waves of enemies, adding additional runic modifiers to the enemies with each wave. Remnants start with any number of slots between 2 and 10, with high numbers being much rarer, but allowing you to craft much rarer items. Monsters raised by remnants can drop Verisium metal, a new currency. Added new NPC Pharaoh with 4 new quests in the campaign, and allowing you to unlock various new crafting features. 4 new quests in the campaign. New crafting system, Verisium rune forging. So we saw that in the video. After unlocking Verisium rune forging in Act 1, this system allows you to add runic ward. After unlocking Verisium rune forge in Act 1, this allows you to add runic ward to your armor by spending Verisium. Armors lower than level 55 gain runic ward with no downside. Armors above this level trade some of their regular base defenses for runic ward. Okay. Added new defense, runic ward. This defense kicks in once you reach 1 life, allowing you to continue to survive while your runic ward takes damage. Runic ward regenerates independently of your life. Add 13 new alloy currency items, which can be unlocked through remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's Quest in Act 2. These items add various new crafting modifiers to items by replacing an existing modifier similar to perfect essences. Wow! Nice! Perfect essences. Okay. After unlocking unique Verisium rune forging in Act 3, you can upgrade the base type of unique armors that drop at levels lower than 55. These upgraded generally increase base defenses, allowing low-level unique armors to become more competitive in the endgame. Unique armors above level 55 can still be rune forged to modify their defenses to include runic ward at the cost of reducing other defenses similar to the base types. Okay, so if it's above level 55, you got an armor piece, an armor chest piece. You can apply runic ward to it, but it's going to probably lose a percentage of its armor. It won't if it's 55 or below. There's no penalty for it, per se. Unique Verisium rune forging has additional properties when used on Kalgurian uniques. Hey, what's up, Chris? Added 13 ancient ruins which can be unlocked to be crafted by remnant encounters. After completing Pharaoh's Quest in Act 4, these ruins have powerful bonuses specific to each weapon type. Okay, so looks like they have something changing Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and Act 4. Added 13 ancient ruins can be unlocked. Okay, yeah. Added 13 mythical early game ruins that can be crafted from remnant encounters to provide significant boosts to level 15 plus characters. Oh, thanks, Chris. Added 3 fluxes which can be crafted from remnants to transform the resistance on your items from one element to another. Ooh. It's quite a list, yes. Added 15 meta crafting ruins that can be crafted from remnants. Added 60, remember guys, there's over 200 of these suckers. Added 60 plus ruins that can be created by destroying a unique to make a rune that gains some of its properties. Wow. Oh my god. Added 15 plus runic word ruins that can be crafted from remnants, adding or modifying properties related to runic ward. Added 21 Kalgurian skills that can be crafted from remnants, animus exchange, animus splinters, bitter dead, conductive ruins, detonate living, eternal march, explosive transmutation, fragments of the past, frost flame nova. Wow. So these are all skills, boys. Grim pillars, hollow shell, ley lines, powered by Verisium, refutation, remnants of Kalgor, repulsion, runic reprieve, skyfall, triskelion, cascade, Verisium manifestations, and voltic barrier. Holy shit. Added 8 Kalgurian supports that can be crafted from remnants, concussive ruins, Fist of Kalgor, Healing Ruins, Kalgorian Conviction, Rune Forged Blades, Runic Extraction, Runic Fusion, and Scouring Flame. Expedition Remnants have been changed into the remnants from the ruins of the Aldor League. Okay, yeah, because Expedition now is a whole thing on its own. New endgame story. Set out on an expedition with Fair to explore the ocean as you investigate the tombs of the fallen Kalgorans and challenge them to earn remarkable rewards. Seek out the crater of a fallen star, a meteor of pure verisium, from which you hope to forge objects of immense power if you can defeat what awaits you there. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a new pinnacle boss there. There's now a hub area, the ruins of King's March, for the ruins of Aldor to the southeast of your starting location on the Atlas. That's for those of you that want to explore the seas and expedition. Okay, logbook, that's expedition. Mechanic has been changed into an ocean exploring mechanic. Using logbooks now unveils a section of the ocean with a variety of islands to explore. As you use the logbook, it expands the map further out into the sea. And we've seen that. Many new underground areas have been added that can be uncovered. Yep. Many new islands have been added with New Grand Expedition, previously known as logbooks. Medved, Varana, and Uhtred join Alroth as the 4 faction leaders available to fight on new islands that you can discover in the ocean. Defeating Alroth will give you a key that you can use to access, there you go, the new pinnacle boss for the Ruins of Aldor. The new Ruins of Aldor Challenge League includes the first set of challenges, so we already know this. There's challenges now. In PoE 2, earn pieces of the Knight of Aldor armor set when you complete, and it's a nice piece of armor, looks good. 2468 challenges in Ruins of Aldor. These challenges rewards are only obtainable in this league. So if you don't complete it, you're probably not going to get the Knight set, and it looks pretty sweet. From the first challenge onwards, and for every challenge after that, you will receive pieces of the Ruins of Aldor totem decoration to display in your hideout. The totem pole permanently showcases how many of the Ruins of Aldor challenges you completed during. Oh, wow, that's neat. That is neat. A little flexing. A little flexing, boys, in your hideout. What's up, Lenendove? Watch 0.5. There are standard. Oh, with 050. I'm going to start calling it 050. I don't know. 050, yeah. With 050, there are standard, hardcore, and solo self-found variations of the Ruins of Aldor Challenge Leagues available. They have the same core mechanics and items, and you can create private league versions of these leagues. The hardcore variation of Ruins of Aldor are parented to their standard Ruins of Aldor equivalent, meaning if you die in hardcore Ruins of Aldor, you can continue on the standard Ruins of Aldor League. Nice. So it's the same thing in softcore, in hardcore trade, let's say. It just, you go to softcore trade. So it sounds like it's kind of similar. Cool. So you don't lose your progression. Awesome, awesome. Endgame. Long workday today, grabbing some dinner before continuing. Enjoy your dinner, bro. We'll be here. Endgame. The Atlas now has fixed points of interest at specific locations, giving you distinct objectives that are easy to find. Finally. All league mechanics on the Atlas now have quests that introduce the mechanic and guide you through its various stages up to the pinnacle bosses. Beautiful. That's purpose. All pinnacle bosses now have quest versions that can be assessed deterministically, alongside repeatable non-quest versions that offer a greater challenge. Added 30 new endgame map areas. Wow. Okay, Origins of Divinity, the endgame overhaul. So this is the tower. You know, the thing that we saw in one of those teasers of that fucking huge building just popping out of the earth. This is the origins of divinity. New endgame storyline. The Cataclysm of the Beast have invoked an ancient protocol designed to scour for and purge corruption. Should it ever take hold to this degree, traverse the Atlas to enter the fortress. There you go, the fortress. Thank you. That's what it, not the tower, the fortress. And activate the gates. Obtain the keys to reach the ancient precursor weapons and disarm them. On completion of your first tower, a fortress will rise from the earth. And we already know the fortress isn't going to be something we're going to have to rely RNG and hope we find it. Apparently it's going to be north of the map, and it's going to be 1 or 2 maps from the starting point. So it's going to be very obvious from the get-go. So I think as soon as we do our first map and we go, like it said here, on completion of your first tower, which I'm sure is going to be close, then the freaking fortress will pop up and you're good. Maps inside the fortress grant 1 or more passive points for the Atlas passive tree. This entirely replaces the previous method of gaining Atlas points. The Atlas tree has been significantly expanded with over 300 nodes. After completing all the maps inside the fortress, you will gain enough passive points to fully allocate the Atlas tree. Wow. As the entire Atlas tree can be fully allocated, there's no need to allow respecialization for it anymore. Multi-choice nodes on the tree can be changed between options at any time. Nice. Many maps in the fortress have ancient modifiers that add or modify the contents of the map. Any maps with modifiers that add secondary content to a map also implicitly add that content to the map as well. And there are other things that we're going to learn here that we saw in the live reveal and heard about in the live reveal, as far as like what we can do to kind of, juice and modify maps. Added 40 plus ancient modifiers that have a chance to appear on the map outside the fortress. Added 3 gateway maps with 2 new bosses that can be used to access different sections of the fortress. New precursor tower maps have been added outside of the fortress. The Burning Monolith, along with Arbiter of Ash, have been moved into the fortress. Quest versions of the Crisis fragments have been added to 2 Enigma chambers inside the fortress. Added 2 new Citadel maps with 2 new bosses that drop keys to the new Pinnacle boss. Added Arbiter of Divinity Pinnacle boss, so the fortress has its own Pinnacle boss. Maps in the fortress can be alternately completed by killing the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times to complete different sections of the fortress automatically in order to gain Atlas tree points. So, this last one, just in case you missed it, very important. So, the way, and you guys jump in if I'm paraphrasing wrong here, but basically what Mark and Jonathan said during the live reveal, I don't know if it was during the Q&A maybe, that if you want to rush the Pinnacle boss in the fortress, you can. And the beauty of that is, well, if someone rushes the Pinnacle boss, then you're not running as many maps per se. So they were worried about, the Atlas points, right? So what this means is you can rush the boss, Pinnacle boss, defeat the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times, and then it'll allow you to pick a square, an area in the fortress. And once you pick it, the maps show as completed, and you get assigned the Atlas points if you still need Atlas points. So that is so people have the option. If they want to, rush the Pinnacle boss, they can most efficiently, and they're not going to lose, all those maps. They can get them, pick an area, you get the points and the completion for that one section. So this is really cool that they added this for people that want to min-max their time or even their character. Okay, all good. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right, Masters of the Atlas. Masters of the Atlas is the 3 characters. The 3 characters that come with bonuses that we can choose to come with us when we're fighting maps. And those bonuses apply to the maps. Let's see if I got it right. Alongside the Atlas tree, a new system called Masters of the Atlas introduces ascendancy style progression for the endgame. Players can align with different masters, Jado, such as Jado of the Order of the Djinn, or the Monster Hunter Hilda, each offering unique asymmetric bonuses that can be swapped between maps at will, enabling build-defining bonuses. There you go. Where's the third one? There's 3 of them. Each master has 12 nodes, of which 4 can be selected at the same time. You can change your selection at any time. Each master has 12, of which 4. Okay. All 3 masters, there you go. I knew there was 3, can be allocated at the same time with quick selection button to change between each master before you run a map. Yep. So if I remember correctly, if this is our screen, it was on the left side, little arrow there. You click on it. It pops out. You select which one of the 3 masters you want to run with you on that map. Really what you're doing is you're selecting the master with the bonuses that you want, that appeal to your character. Maybe there's synergy with your character. You pick, you highlight the bonuses, because I think there's a menu on each line. And then once you select it, you run the map, and that's what applies to the map. Unlock each row of 3 nodes by performing missions. Now, before we get there, we got to do some work. We got to perform missions for each one of the masters, by the way. New Atlas Master Doriani's Science questline is unlocked by clearing a corruption nexus. New Atlas Master Hilda's Hunting questline is unlocked by visiting Hilda's campsite, southwest of your starting location on the Atlas. And new Atlas Master Jada's Spycraft questline is unlocked by completing an anomaly map near the starting location. Okay, so it looks like we don't know where the corruption nexus is going to be, but I would imagine, well, these 2, it already says near starting location. So I would imagine the same is true for this. So again, as soon as we land in, guys, we're going to have a shit ton of options in the end game, how you want to do it, right? So cool. Quest lines, purpose, it's fixed. The areas are fixed. There's no guessing. There's no running around aimlessly. All good. Okay, Delirium, new storyline. An ancient trickster god has been unleashed, spreading madness across Rayclass. Do you dare to uncover the origins and confront your darkest fears? Okay, there's a new hub area, the Withered Willow for Delirium, to the southwest of your sea. Again, dedicated area. Start a location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contain Delirium and give you points for the Delirium Atlas passive tree. The Delirium Atlas passive tree is completely revamped with many new nodes, and existing nodes changed. Hey, what's up, Mars? McRich! How are you, McRich? How you doing, brother? After breaking a Delirium mirror, there's now a progress bar showing how deep you are in the fog and how long you have until the fog clears. Beautiful. The start of the Delirium bar represents your initial location at the Delirium mirror. The end of the Delirium bar represents the location of the map boss. There are now a set of new Delirium encounters that can be seen on the Delirium bar. So if you guys remember in the live reveal, there was the bar, starting location, map boss, and then there was kind of like icons. And if you were going in the right direction, you could kind of go to those icons. This is what this is alluding to. There are now a set of new Delirium encounters that can be seen on the Delirium bar. Reaching certain depths will cause colored mirror shards to appear. Walking into the mirror shards will break them, activating the new encounters. The direction of the map boss can be observed by looking at the fog effect. Moving in the direction of the fog will always lead you to the map boss. Map bosses in Delirium will always be 100% delirious. The damage and life bonuses given to monsters for Delirium have been reduced. Added 5 new elite Delirium monsters. Added a new sub-area, Loathsome Mire. Okay. The Loathsome Mire drops 2 new amulet-based types that grant 2 instilled notables at the cost of either -1 suffix or -1 prefix. Liquid emotions can now be used to craft additional mods on jewels. These work similar to Greater Essence, each having a set of specific mods that will replace a random existing mod on the item. Replace? We good. Hope you're well too, sir, man. Can't wait for this one. Oh, yeah. Cannot wait. This is gonna even make it more harder to wait for another week. Completing Delirium mirrors now have a chance to spawn Grand Mirrors on the Atlas on a nearby map. Grand Mirrors creates a duplicate of the map boss in the affected map. Killing both map bosses will unlock a new Atlas mechanic, the Trial of Madness. Wow. Oh my god, bro. After triggering the Trial of Madness, fog will spread from a map of your choosing on the Atlas, including a lock simulacrum. While inside the fog, the entire map is delirious, starting at 10%. Oh my god, that's going to be a hell of a fucking juiced map. Killing rare monsters and the map boss increases the deliriousness of all the maps in the fog. Oh my god. On reaching 100%, the simulacrum will become available. The hilariousness can continue to be increased up to 200%. You better have a good build, boys. Okay, rare and unique monsters in Delirious maps have a set of new Delirious modifiers, giving them strange new abilities. Well, they're Delirious. Of course, they're going to be strange. Map bosses of Delirious maps can additionally drop a new set of 3 potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on jewels that are not available in the normal jewel mod pool. Okay, so Delirium is your jewel area. These emotions can now be used to instill a set of 16 new passive tree notables that are not normally available on the passive tree. Simulacrum have been updated and is now a 7-wave encounter. Completing a simulacrum will now give you a key to face the new Delirium Pinnacle boss. Another new Pinnacle boss. There is new set of 10 ancient emotions that can drop if unlocked by the Atlas tree, which can be used to craft time slot jewels. There are also 3 ancient potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on time lost jewels that are not normally available in the mod pool. Some non-amulet Delirium uniques now drop with the Raven Touched modifier, allowing them to be instilled. And we saw that on the video. Breach. How long is this? Oh my god, chat. Chat. Someone go make the coffee. Oh. Okay, new Breach storyline. Travel to the Monastery of the Keepers, the hallowed halls of the Keepers of the Flame, and discover the Genesis tree. Yes! Stolen from the enemy and gifted in the Keepers by the Dreamer himself. For more information, okay. There's a new hub, the Monastery of the Keepers. It's a book. To the south of your starting location on the Atlas, the maps around this location all contain breach encounters. Completing these maps gives you points on the Atlas tree The Breach Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing. Starting a breach now shows a progress bar that indicates how long you have until the breach will close. As much killing monsters extending to the life of the breach. Reaching 100% of this bar will begin a new mechanic, a stabilized breach. A stabilized breach will spawn new challenges at its starting point. Added new boss to stabilized breach, Vroom. Marshal of Zest. Added new crafting system, the Genesis Tree. Oh, baby, can't wait to get my hands on that. The Genesis Tree allows consuming of womb gifts and hive blood to create rings, amulets, belts, and currency. Rings, amulets, belts, and currency. Wow. Wow, so no armor, no weapons? Okay. Nodes on the Genesis tree can be allocated to affect what I gotta say, this is a little bit of a bummer. Okay. Nodes on the Genesis tree can be allocated to affect what items will be crafted. New nodes are unlocked by using womb gifts. Added 6 new ring base types that can be exclusively crafted from the Genesis tree. They've added 4 new amulet bases that can only be done there. They've added 4 new belts that can only be crafted on the tree, and added a set of caster and minion mods that can be crafted onto rings and belts using the tree. Catalysts can no longer drop from monsters. These are now solely obtained from the Genesis tree. Added a new set of 12 catalysts that can add new quality modifiers to jewels. Killing monsters in a breach now drops hive blood and womb gifts and breachstone splinters. Breachstone splinters turns into a special womb gift when fully stacked, and we put them in the tree, I think. This can be turned into here we go. This can be turned into the Genesis tree to create a breachstone. New breach domains now spawn on the Atlas. Using a breachstone will reveal the maps inside the domain, allowing you to enter them. Maps inside the breach domain contain a new encounter, breach hives, sky hives, and sky fortresses. Breach hives have a series of walls that can be burned by walking through them. Each wall destroyed will increase the number of monsters in the encounter, which can be started in the center. Sky hives are a new area in which the breach lords have constructed fortresses that you will need to assail. Sky hives contain a challenging multi-wave encounter in which you will need to defend Aelith while she closes a domain. Aelith will gain a series of abilities that can be triggered during the encounter with various effects. Fortresses are a new area with a new pair of bosses, Tull and Esh. Defeating Tull and Esh will give you a key to access the existing Breach Pinnacle boss. Same thing. Okay, Ritual. Basically, Ayu, however the fuck you pronounce that, lingers as a restless spirit bound to the wildwood, searching for one who might answer her call. The king in the mist has claimed her flesh, leaving her soul adrift, untethered and unable to pass beyond. She believes that only by reclaiming what was taken can be made by can she be made whole once more. They're a new hub area. Kaer Tarth to the west of the starting point. Location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contain ritual counters. Completing these maps gives you points for the ritual Atlas tree. The ritual Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing nodes changed. After completing a ritual altar encounter in a map, Locust will point the way to the new altar. Beautiful. All items in the endgame ritual reward screen are now either uniques or omens. Beautiful. Any tribute not spent on rewards can now be sacrificed to gain an audience with the king. Beautiful. We just keep sacrificing until we fill up the bar and we get an audience with the king. Killing a king in the mist now drops a new key, the head of the king. This can be used in Kaer Tarth to begin the Rite of the Nameless. The Rite of the Nameless is a new Atlas mechanic in which you choose a series of 5 maps to complete a single continuous ritual. Holy shit. The monsters from each ritual, including the map bosses, will reappear in each map in the sequence, making for a very challenging encounter. The unique boss from each map will only appear in the final ritual of each map. While choosing maps for the Rite of the Nameless, each map after the first will contain extra modifiers which affect the difficulty and rewards of the rituals during the rite. Each map in the Rite of the Nameless awards one element of the key used to access the ritual pinnacle boss. Added new boss, the Queen in the Mist, available after allocating a specific node on the Atlas tree. This boss can drop 3 new corrupted idols. Freythorn rituals are now prevented from ever showing deferred items, to ensure items are not lost if returning to this area on a higher level character. Okay, Fate of the Val is moving to core. Fate of the Val has been added to the core game. Your first encounter a series of 6 ancient beacons in Act 3. Energize them to obtain energized crystals. Open a portal to the Val ruins. You'll encounter a second set of 6 ancient beacons in the interludes. There is now an Atlas passive tree for the Fate of the Val. Okay. Aziri's temple can now be found on the Atlas to the northeast of your starting location in the city of Lyra Val. Maps inside the city of Lyra Val always have energized crystals and grant points for the Fate of the Val Atlas passive tree. There are also new temple precursor tablets that will guarantee Val beacons in your map if you want to focus on this league. It is no longer possible to prevent a room being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted but have other connections will be turned into simple path rooms. This prevents the snake strategy. Can't wait to see what they come up with this one, boys. Someone's going to find something. The number of rooms in the temple when first starting has increased to allow getting to Aziri more quickly. Good. Rooms can now be upgraded to tier 4 after unlocking this ability on the temple Atlas tree. This allows more specialization into particular room types and encourages more interesting temple layouts. Reward rooms granted from the console after defeating the architect have been significantly improved, with more varieties to unlock in addition to upgrading the rewards of all existing ones. Good. Restricted rooms in Aziri's temple that are accessible will always destabilize upon exiting the temple. Aziri's temple medallions now have their drop rate scaled with the number of paths in the temple, in addition to other rooms, previously only other rooms. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside an active temple. Room-based medallions now display upgrade information when hovered. Medallions now output descriptive error message when they cannot be placed. Okay, the default maximum number of energized crystals you can store has been increased to 60, and the maximum number of medallions has been increased to 6. The medallions that increase the number of stored energized crystals or medallions are no longer necessary. The monster level of the temple now factors in the level of the areas where the crystals used to open it were obtained. The corruption chamber temple bonuses have been updated to add monster modifier chance instead of additional monster modifiers. Portals created in the Temple of Aziri now create a corresponding portal in the parent Val ruins for ease of access. Val beacons now show a grayed out icon on the minimap when completed. There are now 4 types of infusers. Existing Val infusers are now Val Armorer's infusers, which can be applied to armor. Val Blacksmith's infuser can now be applied to martial weapons, while Val Arcanist's infusers can be applied to wands, staves, and scepters. Val Catalyzing infusers can be applied to jewelry. All infusers can only be used on items at or above 20% quality. Fate of the Val currency items now have a maximum stack size of 5,000 when stored in the wildcard slots in the currency stash tab. Val currency items. Okay. Some of the possible outcomes from applying to Val cultivation orbs to unique items have been updated. The Aziri's real unique staff can now roll 10 to 20% increased life cost efficiency, previously 20 to 40. So that's been reduced. The Aziri Splendor unique body armor can now roll plus 66 to 100 to maximum energy shield, previously 1 to 200. That's come down. The Covenant unique body armor can now roll 10 to 25% increased life cost efficiency, previously 25 to 50. Wow. The Hate Forge unique gloves can now roll 16 to 30 maximum rage if you've used a skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds. Previously 8 to 10 maximum rage per skill that requires in the past 6 seconds up to 5 times. Okay, the hits keep on coming. The Wrathpith Globe unique focus can now roll 8 to 15% increased life cost efficiency, previously 12 to 20. Another downgrade. The Shackles of the Wretched unique gloves can no longer roll elemental ailments other than freeze you inflict at reflected to you, instead now being able to roll 10 to 15% increased damage per curse on you. The Vertex unique helmet can no longer roll +2 to +4 to level of all skill gems, instead of now being able to roll +3 to +5 to level of all curse skill gems. Okay, that is Fate of the Val Moving Core. Abyss. There are now large abyss cracks on the Atlas. Completing Atlas Abyss will close them, and I'll always give you an Abyssal Depths with a boss fight. The Abyss Atlas tree has been revamped with many new nodes and changes to existing nodes. Cool Max Invitation is now always allocated to the map owner. Abyss Omens no longer drop in areas below level 65? Fuck. Modifiers to the number of chests found now apply to chests found in Abyss. These also apply to the chance to find an Abyssal Depths. So the chance to find an Abyssal Depths does not decrease with more chests in the area. Adjusted the damage of the Meteoric Demise Abyss monster modifier. Lithomantic ruins are now active after a longer delay. Interesting. Okay, Expedition. Expedition League has been temporarily disabled on Standard League due to the integration with the Ruins of Eldor. This will be integrated into Standard after the Ruins of Eldor is over. The Recombinator has been disabled. The Omen of Recombination has been removed. Existing Omens of Recombination will be deleted upon logging in. Yeesh. The Forgotten by Time Expedition Precursor Tablet has been temporarily disabled from dropping. Expedition explosives now wait to explode until most of the monsters unearthed by the previous explosion have been killed. Okay. You can now use currency from your stash to purchase items from Expedition vendors. Nice. Okay. Other endgame changes. With the introduction of the new endgame, most of that stuff we kind of already knew, but there was some new stuff. With the introduction of the new endgame storyline, the Atlas has been reset. Your existing tablets and waystones will continue to work, so you continue your progress as normal, but in order to gain points for the Atlas tree, you will need to do the Origins of Divinity storyline. Okay, looks like we know what we're doing first. Added support for searching to the endgame Atlas map. You can now zoom out slightly further on the Atlas screen. Hey, what's up, Swee? Nice. I hope it's further up, man, because that is annoying. You're literally like... There are now two versions of each Pinnacle boss, the Quest version and the Infinite Farm version. As such, primary, secondary, and tertiary calamity fragments can no longer be obtained. Tablets of the same type may now be used together to increase the amount of the league content that is spawned. The specifics of this are different for each content type. In some cases, adding multiple tablets will increase the size of a single counter, while in other cases, it will increase the number of encounters spawned. Okay. Nice. Each empty tablet slot now contributes to the amount of random non-tablet Spawn League content in the area. This means that if all tablet slots are full, you will only see the League content from the tablets you are using. The intent of this change is to make sure that you don't need to compete the Atlas tree for leagues you do not intend to run. Right. So, of the 3 slots, and I'm assuming there's still going to be 3 slots for the tablets, make sure you put the content that you want on the map. If you leave one empty, it's going to be RNG. Waystones must now be identified in order to activate them in the map device. I may need to do a double coffee for this. Yeah, I might. I already have my coffee. Finitoed. Finished. This might be an espresso. It's going to be an espresso night. You can now use Orbs of Chance on tablets. Beautiful. Some items and content now require you to specialize in them through Atlas passive skills, including exceptional items, fracturing orbs, basic and overseer precursor tablets. Ugh. Okay, so instead of them dropping, we now got to assign them on the tree. Okay, we'll see how that turns out. Tablets can no longer be used on maps that cannot have extra content, such as unique maps. Well, that unique maps, you couldn't put it anyway. League-specific tablets no longer drop from non-map areas. League-specific tablets no longer drop from non-map areas, such as Simulacrum, Abyssal Depths, or the Twisted Domain. Lowered the base chances for essences as Mirror Spirits, Shrines, Strongboxes, Summoning Circles, and Rogue Exiles appearing in maps, somewhat due to the much larger increase now available on the Atlas tree. Okay. Atlas passives that reference maps with powerful map bosses now work with Overseer Precursor tablets and other sources of powerful map bosses. Adjusted the values of general Precursor tablet modifiers to be similar to the same type bonus granted by Waystone modifiers. Also reduced the roll variance of these modifiers. The following modifiers can no longer roll on Waystones: Barons, Beastly, Brambled, Dorianis, Innervating, Faradunes, Hollowed, Nemesis, Perennials, Rusted, and Sacrificial. Whether a map modifier is a suffix or a prefix has been adjusted so that generally prefixes are modifiers that affect the monster output towards the player, and suffixes are modifiers that affect the player or monster defenses. Okay. The following suffix modifiers are now prefixes: of destruction, of fleeting, of impact, of penetration, of puncturing, of shattering, of splitting, and of venom. So these are all things monsters are going to get when attacking us. This is what we're going to have to go up against. The following prefix modifiers are now suffixes: buffering, enduring, enfeeble, eroding, evasive, flaming, hex-worded, shocking, sleet, and slowing. Great. So if these are on our tablets, this is what we're going to be penalized with. This goes against our defenses. All right. The of overpowering Waystone modifier no longer causes monsters to have increased freeze, build up, shock chance, or inflict increased flammability magnitude. It now causes monsters to have increased elemental ailment application. Okay, that should be good. Waystone modifier bonuses have been updated. They now provide more monster effectiveness, pack size, item rarity, monster rarity, or Waystone drop chance, depending on the modifier. These modifiers are multiplicative with other sources, such as those found on the Atlas passive tree. Modifiers to pack size now also provide a chance for additional rare monsters to appear in rare monster packs. Okay. Monster rarity is a new stat available that affects the chances of magic and rare monsters and the chance for additional modifiers on rare monsters. Map modifiers that include source of increased number of rare monsters or increased number of magic monsters have been updated to only display the number at the header of the map and not also be displayed amongst the explicit modifiers. This is not a functional change. Halved the bonus to quantity of item dropped and experience gained provided by increased monster effectiveness, such as from Aziri's Temple. Okay. The functionality of the Omen of Chaotic Rarity, Omen of Chaotic Quantity, and Omen of Chaotic Monsters have been inverted. Instead of guaranteeing the new modifiers are of their type, they instead prevent the modifiers from being of their type. Okay, I don't remember from memory what these guys do. Added the new Omen of Chaotic Effectiveness. While this item is active in your inventory, your next Chaos Orb will replace all modifiers on a Waystone with modifiers that do not grant monster effectiveness. Okay. Up to 3 of the above omens may now be used simultaneously. Halve the damage as extra buffs granted from the following shrines: Freezing Shrine, Gloom Shrine, Meteoric Shrine, and Tempest Shrine. Halved the damage. Okay. Completion of fixed locations of the Atlas is now shared with party members. With the addition of more varied content on the Atlas map, the size of content indicators has been increased 50%. Okay. Waystones have received new 2D art. Nice. Campaign replayability. Oh, here we go, boys. To improve how long it takes for experienced players to replay through the campaign in each new league, we've added new elements. This should be called the Sammy Caps edition. Elements to multiple campaign areas that tell you where to go if you don't know what to look for. You can see some examples on any Sammy Caps video. Some areas throughout the game that have been shortened. Remove the second Dreadnought area. Fuck yeah. The Dreadnought Vanguard, the Act 2 boss, is now in the Dreadnought. Yes. Area order in Act 3 has been somewhat rearranged in order to make progression smoother. Yes! I hate Act 3. The waterways levers have been turned into pressure pads that you simply need to walk over, and the final part of the level has the water pre-drained. Yes! These are all little seconds, but it adds up, man. Monster density in the second half of the campaign has been reduced, specifically in the interludes, to allow getting through these areas more quickly. Let's go. All right. Uh-oh. Here we go. Player changes. Guys, get out the tissue. I'm ready. Bleed damage on players is no longer increased while the player is moving. This change does not affect bleeds players' ability to apply to monsters. Okay. Your maximum runic ward is now added to your starting honor when beginning a trial of the Suck of My Ass. Oh my god. Okay, that's cool. The defenses keyword is no longer in use. Existing use of the word defenses now explicitly refers to armor, evasion, and energy shield to make it more clear that these modifiers do not apply to runic ward, resistance, block, or other forms of protection. This is purely a description change. Only a single leech. Here comes the change to leech. They talked about this. Only a single leech instance per resource, life, mana, or ES, can apply at a time. When multiple leech instances are active, only the one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires, after which the next highest recovery rate instance will apply. We already knew. They spoke about that. There is now a limit of the maximum amount of damage a hit can be considered to deal for leech. Hits that deal less than 40,000 total damage are unaffected. But if a hit would deal more than 40,000 total damage, it is treated as dealing only 40,000 damage for purposes of leech calculation. This value of each damage type in the hit are scaled down evenly to reach this limit. This means that extremely high damage hits stop improving leech past a certain point, but increasing your leech percentage will always increase the amount of resources you're gaining. Yep, we knew that. The formula for chance to deflect has been adjusted to provide better scaling with investment into deflection rating, with a cap of 95% chance to deflect, similar to chance to evade being capped at 95. Oh, here we go, boys. Here we go. This is try-hard math right here. The new chance to deflect is equal to 150% times 1 minus A divided by A plus 0.2 times D, where A is attacker accuracy rating, D is defender of deflection rating. This makes for a linear path that gets rewarded at higher investments. Fuck. Oh my God. Like, I'm actually going to insert the numbers and calculate that. But what do I know? Parry, shield block, and resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. Okay, I can't dwell on this shit too much because we're going to be here for 3 days. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. Some attacks create multiple damaging areas during use. For example, Whirling Assault creates multiple damaging areas around you as you move. When minion melee attacks can now only apply splash damage. This is a monk, right? Whirling Assault is monk. Minions affected, that's a quarterstaff skull, I think. Minions affected by last gas support or Tech Rod's Revenge, linear support, and totems affected by the unarmed Heartwood. Oracle notable passive skill can no longer die during the effect from taking further damage exceeding their maximum life. Minions, okay. Stats, worded as when you collect a remnant, no longer give you the benefits of the stats when an ally shares the effects of a remnant with you. So for splash, you have to create damaging areas to keep splashing, or you're dead. Yeah. What's up, Spox? Your plan is to play Monk on the 28th? Updated the name of the buff that Trinity grants to Affinity, as Resonance is the name of the Keystone passive skill. This is purely a descriptive update. Archon buffs are no longer inherently lost when you attack. This is now property of Elemental Archon specifically. New content and features. Introduction, the new Martial Artist Ascendancy class for the Monk. Here you go, Spox. Perfect timing. After decades of training, the martial artist has become a master of illusion. Empowered by the ruins socketed into his body, this class creates powerful illusions, summons illusionary bells to aid him, and excels at using his hands as weapons. Introduced a new Spirit Walker Ascendancy class for the Huntress. Bound to the winds, this class calls upon spirits to answer to her will, granting different abilities, aligning with the stag, owl, or bear. Through their guidance, the Spirit Walker may subdue even the most formidable beast, binding them in spirit, or call forth a spectral companion to fight beside her. Sounds good. Okay, new lineage supports. Arbiter's Reach, Breach Lord's Almagun, Cathis Brilliance, blub, 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 and blub, blub. Added 8 new idols that come exclusively from monsters possessed by Asmirian spirits. Added the new Minion Splash and Minion Splash 2 strength support gems. These support skills which create minions which strike cause those minion strikes to have splasharoonie melee. The Fragment Stash tab is now available for use in PoE 2. It can hold your fragments, including breach splinters, simulacrums, audience with the king, inscribed ultimatums, and barriers, as well as tablets. If you previously purchased one in Path of Exile, it will automatically be made available to you once 0.5 patch is deployed. For those without a Fragment Stash tab, you'll be able to find it in the Stash tab section of the microtransaction store after 0.5 goes live. Added support for build guides. Community creators who write build guides can now create .build files for players to download. When selected in the game client, these will show everything you need to know for that build, including passive skills to allocate, which ascendancy passive skills to take, skill gems to equip, as well as recommendations for support gems. Added the ability to quick search the trade market with an item that you have. Shift Alt clicking on an item will populate the filter for searching the trademark, so you can see trade market. So you can see the current prices for rare items. You would have to do this manually before. This is a big quality of life. For rare items, you can enable and disable each modifier to easily determine the effect each one has on the item price. In party play, you can now quickly revive any fallen party member after defeating the boss. You can now skip dialogue sequence with NPCs by pressing escape. Ooh, nice. Added a reforging bench to the entrance of the Trial of Sechamus. Continue to incrementally improve the sound, arts, effects, and environments. Nice. Here we go, boys. Ascendancy changes. Acolyte of Chayula. The Into the Breach skill granted by the Walking Dream notable passive skill grants 20% leech of your maximum life to you when collecting a red flame of Chayula, previously 15. But remember, leech is capped at 40,000 damage, and leech 20% of your maximum mana when you're collecting a blue flame of Chayula, previously 15. The wording of the Into the Breach skill has now been updated to clarify behavior ranges related to flames of Chayula. In the Breach, now applies modifiers to remnant picking range to the range at which flames of Chayula can be seen. This is purely a visible change. Blood Mage. The Vitality Siphon notable passive skill now grants 20% of spell damage Leech's life, previously 10. Again, Leech is capped, even though this is a buff. Chronomancer. Well, we saw what it was. The Rapid Rivers notable passive skill has been removed and position has now been taken now and again. The now and again notable passive has been reworked and now grants cascadable spells. Has a 20% chance to echo. Repeatable spells have a 20% chance to repeat. The Unbound Encore notable passive skill has been taken the previous position of now and again. Chronomancer is awesome. Dark Blonde. Yeah, I might play it. Not my first character though. I don't know. We're gonna see. The ultimate command notable. The teaser looked really good. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play for hardcore. I'm gonna like that instant revive like getting your health back up and mitigating the damage, like just screams hardcore. Added the new phased form notable passive skill. Preceding footprints in the sand, phased form grants take 30% less damage, and 4 seconds after being damaged by an enemy hit, take damage equal to 30% of that hit's damage. Again, all part of the teaser. The temporal rift skill granted by the footprints in the sand notable passive skill has been updated and now has a cast time of 0.1 second, previously 0.5, and now also removes delayed damage from phased form. Okay, so the cast time has been doubled. The inevitable agony skill granted by the inevitability notable passive skill has been reworked. It is no longer a curse and has a 2-second cooldown. The debuff is now a life loss effect instead of secondary hit damage, and the debuff amount is now displayed on static health bars. The debuff also now instantly calls enemies when total life loses reaches calling strike threshold. Now grants debuff targets lose life equal to 25% of hit damage dealt to them while debuffed, previously 50%. Enemy curse effectiveness no longer applies to this skill, meaning unique enemies have the same effectiveness as previously, while other enemies have less. Debuff duration is now 12 seconds, previously 6 to 8.6 seconds. Quality now grants plus 0 to 0.5 meters to initial cast radius. Previously, curse zones erupts after 0 to 10% reduced delay. The skill has also received a new visual effect. That was a mouthful. The Sands of Time buff granted by the Quicksand Hourglass notable passive skill now grants 1 to 60% increased skill speed, previously cast speed, and has also new visual effects. You guys see anything alarming here? Like I haven't played Chronomancer since 0.1. So I'm not up to. We'll find out. Gemling Legionnaire. The crystalline potential notable passive skill has been removed. Added a new notable passive skill, Essence of Virtue. This grants the Virtuous Barrier skill, which, while active, conjures a glittering barrier that accumulates protective gemstone motes of each attribute type over time, but loses a random mote when you are hit. Okay, that's that thing that we saw in the teaser. The advanced thermography notable passive skill no longer grants the thermometrical dynamism skill. It instead now grants gem quality, grants socketed skills as an additional effect. All gems in the game now have an additional quality stat that can be seen while holding Alt on the gem after picking this notable. Pathfinder. The overwhelming toxicity notable passive skill now grants 50% less poison duration. Ooh. Previously 35. The running assault notable passive skill now grants 30% less movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. Previously 50. Witch Hunter. Obsessive Rituals now grants 50% less armor and evasion rating. Previously 35. Passive tree changes. Added 19 new companion-themed passive skills to the passive tree. Added 9 new life recoup, speed passive skills to the passive tree. Ooh. Life recoup. Added a new Archon of Undeath cluster to the Witch Sorceress area of the passive tree. The Ancestral Bond Keystone passive skill now causes placing totems to have no cost and not requiring consumer charges to place. It still causes totems to reserve 75 spirit each and now doubles totem limit instead of removing it completely. The Trusted Kinship Keystone passive skill now grants 30% more reservation efficiency of companion skills and 20% less reservation efficiency of non-companion skills. It no longer provides you have 30% less defense, or companions have +1 to each defense for every 2 of the defense you have. The Trusted Kinship Keystone passive skill now grants 30% more reservation efficiency of companion skills and 20% less reservation efficiency of non-companion skills. Okay, that one, yeah, we'll see how that one goes. The Valpak Keystone passive skill now grants 50% more amount of life leech, 60% less life leech speed, cannot recover life other than from leech, and life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. It no longer provides life leech, is instant, or cannot use life flask. Tomato. The Reformed Barrier Cluster has been removed. The Warding Fetish Cluster has moved locations and no longer connects to a jewel socket. The Storm Charge and Breaking Point Cluster no longer connects to a jewel socket. The Adamant Recovery notable passive skill has been replaced by Fortified Aegis, which grants 100% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield from equipped shield. The Arcane Mixtures notable passive skill now grants 10% increased cast speed if you've used a mana flask recently, instead of 25% increased energy shield. The Bastion of the Fortress notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of energy shield recharge, previously 15. The Casting Cascade notable passive skill now grants 6% increased cast speed for each different spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds. Previously 4. The Chakra of Breathing notable passive skill now grants 20% faster start of energy shield recharge instead of 1% increased energy shield rate per 4 dexterity. The Commanding Rage notable passive skill now grants 2% increased minion attack speed per 5 rage, previously 1% per rage. Your soul never recover from the lightning arrow change. Oh, God. The Convalescence notable passive skill now grants 20% faster start of energy shield. Previously 40%. 10% reduced energy shield recharge rate. Previously 15. Wow. The Core of the Guardian notable passive skill now grants 30% increased block chance and 20% reduced maximum energy shield. Previously 100% increased armor evasion. The Covering Ward notable passive skill now grants gain 25 energy shield when you block, previously 20, and 12% increased block chance. It no longer grants 25% increased energy shield recharge rate. Energy shield recharge rate is taking a licking. The Craving Slaughter notable passive skill now provides plus 15 maximum rage. If you use the skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds, previously plus 8 per skill that requires glory used in the past 6 seconds, up to 5 times. The Critical Overload notable passive skill now provides 15% increased critical spell damage bonus, previously 15%, if you've dealt a crit hit recently. The Cunning Fox notable passive skill has been replaced with the Quick Fox, which grants 20% increased deflection rating while moving. The Small All Attribute passive prior to the notable now grants 20% increased evasion rating while moving. The Deadly Force notable passive skill now provides 15% increased crit hit chance, previously 10, and 15% increased damage if you dealt a crit hit in the past 8 seconds, previously 25. The Dependable Ward notable passive skill now grants +8 to Chaos Resistance and 12% faster start of Energy Shield, previously 25. The Devoted Protector notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of Energy Shield recharge, previously 15. The Echoing Pulse notable passive skill now grants echoed spells have 25% increased area of effect. It no longer grants final repeat of spells, has 30% increased area of effect, which did not function. The Effervescent notable passive skill now grants 4% increased cast speed for each different spell you've cast in the last 8 seconds, previously 4. The Energizing Archon notable passive skill now grants 30% increased Archon duration instead of 40% increased Energy Shield recharge rate, which rate while affected by an Archon buff. The Energizing Deflection notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of Energy Shield instead of 30%. The Essence Infusion notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of Energy Shield recharge and plus 12 to Intelligence, previously 10, and no longer grants 40% increased Energy Shield recharge rate. The Fast Metabolism notable passive skill now grants 40% increased damage while leeching life. Previously, life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. The Fortifying Blood notable passive skill now grants 15% increased amount of life. Previously 20. The Goring notable passive skill no longer grants 40% increased fizz damage. It now grants 3% increased max life and 20% increased amount of life leeched. Previously 3% reduced maximum life and 30% increased amount of life leeched. The Immortal Infamy notable passive skill now grants 6% increased life recovery instead of 10% increased shield charge rate. The Lifelong Friend and Nurturing Guarding notable passive skill have swapped positions. The Mystic Stance notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of Energy Shield recharge, previously 30. And guys, it's dawned on me that I could open up the skill tree and we can, because I don't know all these, but we would be here for a week. The Patient Barrier notable passive skill now grants 50% increased maximum Energy Shield, previously 60. You guys can see what's happening anyway. The Quick Response notable passive skill now grants 10% faster start of Energy Shield, previously 20. See, the numbers are down. 20% faster start of Energy Shield recharge rate when not in full life, previously 30. The Rapid Recharge notable passive skill now grants 12% faster start of Energy Shield and 12% increased energy, both previously at 25. So basically halved. The Refocus notable passive skill now grants 20% increased mana regen rate while stationary instead of 30 Energy Shield recharge rate. The Shatter Palm notable passive skill now provides 20% increased crit damage bonus, previously 10. Chance to daze. The Shimmering notables passive skill now grants 10% faster start of Energy Shield recharge and 20% increased evasion if you have been hit recently. It no longer grants 20% increased Energy Shield recovery rate if you haven't been hit recently. The Staggering Palm notable passive skill now provides 25% increased physical damage, previously 20, and now provides 10% chance to daze instead of 20 increased crit damage bonus. The Storm Charge notable passive skill now provides damage, penetrates 8% of enemy elemental resistance and 5% increased attack and cast speed with elemental skills. It no longer provides 15% increased crit hit damage or 40% increased elemental damage if you've dealt a crit hit recently. The Tempered Mind notable passive skill now provides 15% increased of fully broken armor, previously 20% increased crit. The Voracious notable passive skill no longer grants 20% of life leeched, is instant, and now grants 15% increased attack speed while leeching. The Wide Barrier notable passive skill now grants 30% increased block chance and 20% reduced armor, previously 25 reduced defense. The Wyvern Breath notable passive skill has been updated and now provides 40% increased elemental ailment application if you have shapeshifted to an animal form recently. This now also applies to freeze buildup, but it is otherwise identical. The first two small spell damage passive skills at the starting area of the passive tree for the witch and sorceress now provide 10% increase, previously 8. That's some huge patch game changer. There's a lot in here. Small passive skills that grant faster start of energy shield recharge now have values of 6%, previously 15. Man, ES is taking a fucking Small passive skills that granted energy shield recharge rate have been removed from the passive skill tree and replaced by faster start at a lower value. Small passive skills granting 10% increased amount of life leech now have values of 8. The small banner area of effect passive skill now provides 12% increased banner area effect, previously 15. Same thing with this banner. It goes from 16 from 20. The Unsavored Feast Timeless Jewel Notable no longer grants 20% instant leech if you have at least 200 tribute. It now grants leech life 35% faster if you have at least 100 tribute, previously 25%. All right, here we go. Oof. Skill changes. Skills with a fixed number of projectiles, such as Glacier Lance, can now benefit from effects that cause projectile count modifiers to apply to something else instead, such as Ricochet 3 support. Skills will have a cost of 0 mana. Skills which have a cost of 0 mana now display this cost. This allows players to distinguish between skills that default attacks, which do not have a cost at all, and are thus unaffected by any plus cost modifiers, from those which do have a base cost but with 0 base value, which are affected by all plus cost modifiers, even if they add different resource costs, like adding life costs to a skill with base mana costs. Skill with base mana cost 0. Crossbow ammunition skills now have a base cost of 0 rather than having their cost completely disabled, meaning the effects that added additional costs will now apply to them. Ignites inflicted on targets by oil ground that has been ignited can no longer compound and cannot be compounded with the other ignites from the same skill use. So they're bye-bye oil grenades. All command skills now have a 50% movement speed penalty during skill use. Previously 70%. Okay. Align Fate, granted by the Oracle's Faithful Vision notable passive, now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to Visage appearance frequency. Ancestral Warrior Totem no longer has a hidden 0.6 second delay between skill uses. Instead, this delay is now 50% of the skill's attack time and is described accordingly on the skill. Okay. Bone Storm no longer has a sustained tag. Bone Shatter. Quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed. Previously 0 to 30 increased attack speed. Comet. I know where this is going. Now deals 212 to 318 cold damage at gem level 18. Previously 223 to... Okay. Comet is literally just getting nerfed. Scaling up to 787 to 1180 at the gem level. Previously 820. Yeah, everything is down. Fire Infused Comet, now 2, previously 2, like, it's all down, basically. Call the Weak now has Can't Be Evaded. Now deals 109 to 281% of attack damage at gems level 3 to 20. Previously 60 to 156. Ooh, we got a buff. Attack speed is now 75% of base. Previously 60, and now it has a mana cost of 8 to 42 at gem level 3 to 20. Previously 9 to 46. The maximum dash range has now been increased by 15%. Defiance Banner, Dread Banner, and War Banner no longer have a movement speed penalty during use. Now have a banner aura base radius of 6 meters. Okay, so they've increased the aura. The radius. Earthquake. Aftershock now deals 184.66 of attack damage at gem levels 1 to 12. Previously 160 to 580. Internal Rage can no longer be activated in specific weapon sets. It is now required to be active in both weapon sets and will fail to activate if this is not possible. Feral Invocation no longer bypasses the cooldown of socketed skills. Flame Breath now has an energy gain penalty similar to Incinerate. Fortifying Cry now only consumes 1 stack when you detonate a shield wall to create a shockwave around each shield wall segment. Fortifying Cry shockwaves from a single shield wall cannot hit the same enemy multiple. Oh boy. That is not going to be happy campers there. Shield Wave now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per... Oh my god. I can't wait to see the reaction here. Fragmentation rounds. Quality now grants plus 0 to 2 fragments per shot. Previously 0 to 20% more fizz damage. Freezing Salvo now has 34 to 68 more magnitude of chill inflicted and more freeze built up at gem levels 3 to 20. Previously 56 to 107. Gathering Storm now causes perfectly timed dash to explode any Tempest spell on hit, creating a massive shockwave that deals attack damage. Okay, yada 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 yada. Ghost Dance. The interval between gaining Ghost Shrouds is no longer a duration. It now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate. Also apply to Ghost Shroud gain frequency. It also now has when hit, lose a Ghost Shroud and regenerate energy shield equal to 2% of your evasion rating per second if you have lost a Ghost Shroud recently. What? Grim Feast. Grim Resurrection now has a 1-second cooldown. Ice Shot. Ice Shards no longer have 25% more freeze buildup. Yep, Cthulhu. You talking about Ghost Dance? Because there's a lot of them in here. Ice Strike. Quality now grants 30% increased attack speed, previously 0 to 10. Yeah, that's a big one. Like you lose a Ghost Shroud if you get hit. Lightning Arrow. Multiple lightning beams are no longer be able to chain onto the same target. Oh my god. Lunar Blessing. Triggered moonbeams are no longer considered melee skills. Magma Barrier now deals 5 to 7 added fire damage per 15 armor and evasion and shield, previously 6 to 8. That's come down a little bit. Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye can now be used with channeled skills including Snipe, Plasma Blast, and Detonating Arrow. Mirror of Refraction granted by the Aziri Rule unique staff now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate, also apply to Mirror Apparent Frequency. Oil Barrage. Oh my god. Mana costs have been reduced by 18%. Empowered Oil Barrage now has a mana cost per second equivalent to the initial mana cost of Oil Barrage. Oil Barrage now deals 10% more damage at all levels, while Empowered Oil Barrage now deals 10% less damage at all levels. Empowered Oil Barrage now consumes a power charge every 1.5 seconds to continue channeling. Previously every 2 seconds. Parry. Area effect has now been changed to more closely match its animation. No longer has bonus attack distance. Poison Burst Arrow. Poison duration is now 3 seconds at all gem levels. Previously 3 to 5. 4.9 seconds at gem levels 1 to 20. Quality now grants 0 to 10% more magnitude of poison inflicted. Previously 0 to 20. Pounce. Now has a cooldown of 6 to 5.1 seconds at gem levels 3 to 20. Previously 4.9 to 4 seconds at gem levels 2 to 20. Ravenous Storm now has a modifier to cooldown recover rate. Also applies to swarm spawning frequency. Rend fixed the bug where lightning charge Rend was scaling twice with levels. The base damage has been increased to compensate. Lightning charge Rend now deals 130 to 405 attack damage at levels 1 to 20. Previously 120. Resonating Shield now deals 5 to 7 additional fizz damage per 15 armor and shield. Previously 6 to 8. Rolling Magna now changed 3 times at gem level 1. Previously 2. Rolla Magna got love. Rolling Slam now has +1 second to total attack time. Previously 1.5 seconds. The first slam now deals 75 to 272 of attack damage at gem levels 1 to 20. Oh, yeah. Shattering Spike, granted by the Azuria Contempt unique spear, now has 50% less magnitude of damaging ailments you inflict. No longer has life leech from explosions with at least 15 bloodstone lances instant. Shield Wall now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor, previously 6 to 8. Shred quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack, previously 0 to 10. Snipe now deals 121 to 312% of attack damage at jump levels. So, they've gone down. Even the Ice Blast radius. Spell Totem can now be used while moving and has been received an updated animation. Supercharged Slam now more clearly states that it has fixed attack time that cannot be modified. This is purely a description change. Tame Beast. Summon Beast now deal 40% more. Tame Beast. Summon Beast now deal 40% more damage at gem level 9. Scaling up to 84 at 20. Now immediately summons newly tamed beast if you have enough spirit. Tempest Spell can now be ancestrally boosted as though it were a strike skill, and its maximum number of active bells has been increased to 3, previously 1, greatly improving its combo potential. Its shockwave now deals 45 to 119 of attack damage at gem levels 3 to 20, previously 60 to 132, and can trigger 1 every 0.3 seconds instead of 0.2 seconds. There you go, boys. Bell away. Toxic Growth now fires 5 pustules, previously 4, with a limit of 5, previously 12. Fuck. Quality now grants fires 0 to 1 and limits 0 to 1, previously 0 to 2 and 0 to 2. Thrashing Vines. Updated description to clarify how frequently it spawns vines. This is not a functional change. Okay. So, guys, is this enough to kill plants? Doesn't look like Thrashing Vines has changed. Time of Need. Toxic Growth. It's this previously 12. The interval between blessing is no longer a duration and now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate. Also apply to blessing frequency and the interval has been reduced. Volcano now has a base critical hit chance of 8, previously 5. Whirling Assault. Oh, here we go. Quality now grants 0% attack, previously 0 to 15. Wing Blast. Shockwave now deals 25% more damage at all levels. I wonder the impact to the poison, the plant build. Okay. Support changes. Unleash, expand, salvo, and freezing salvo now use the same. Sorry, guys. I'm just. All right, uniques. The Abe Eterno unique boots no longer grant 10% less movement speed and skills per dodge in the past 20 seconds, and now have 200 to 250 increased armor, evasion, energy shield, previously 1 to 150. It now has your speed is unaffected by slows while sprinting and gain over incumbents for 4 seconds when you dodge roll. Existing versions of this unique can be updated to the new armor, evasion, energy values using a divine art, but will not receive any other changes. The Apep Supremacy unique focus no longer has 30% faster start. Oh my god. The Azeri Acuity unique gloves have now been reworked. They now grant 150 to 200 increased armor, plus 100 to 150 to maximum life, leech 10% of physical attack. The Siren Inherent's unique body armor now grants 15 to 30% increased energy shield recharge rate instead of 30 to 50. Faster start. The Black Flame unique ring no longer has enemies ignited by you take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignite. It now has Withered, you inflict, also increases fire damage taken. Ignite, you inflict, deals chaos damage instead of fire damage. And Withered does not expire on enemies ignited by you. Additionally, it now has 80 to 100% increased ignite magnitude, previously 50, and 60 to 75% reduced ignite duration on enemies, previously 50. Ignite magnitude and duration modifiers can be updated to the new values using a divine orb. Other modifiers will remain unchanged. The Blistering Bond unique ring now has fire damage, also contributes to bleeding magnitude, and bleeding you inflict deals fire damage instead of physical damage. In addition to its other modifiers, resistant items are not affected by this change. The Brass Dome unique body armor now has 500 to 600 increased armor, previously 7 to 800. Existing versions of this unique can be made worse with a divine orb. The Carnage Heart unique amulet now has 25 to 50 increased damage, while leeching existing items are unaffected by this change. The Chaber unique mace now has +2 to 3 to level of all minion skills. Existing items are not affected by this change. The Death's Harp unique bow no longer has bow attacks fire 3 additional arrows. Instead, it now has +250 to 330 surpassing chance to fire. Oh boy. The Alvor unique helmet now grants charms gain 1 charge per second, previously 0.5, and now provides +1 to 2 charm slots, previously +1. Existing items can be buffed using a divine orb. The Ishtara's Path unique ring no longer has cold resistance, is unaffected by area penalties, and now has +5 to 10% to fire and cold resistance per equipped item with a lightning resistance modifier. Existing items are not affected by this change. Yeah, you know what? You guys can read. Just want to see if there's anything big here. Okay, let's go to item changes. Like these support gems and skill gems and unique item things, I'd actually do a deeper dive. I'll do that later. Greater and perfect currencies have been made somewhat rarer, with transmutation augmentation being made significantly rarer. Wow. Okay. We'll see how that pans out. I hope by them taking it off from the general pool, hopefully it's increased somewhere else in some other magnet, some other content. Hopefully, like the new league. Greater orbs of transmutation and greater orbs of augmentation now have a minimum modifier level of 44, previously 55, making them more accessible. They can now begin dropping in Act 4. Okay. Divine orbs are now more common. Riffraff. How you doing, bro? Guys, divine orbs are more common. The corruption outcome that randomizes the numeric values of the modifiers on an item beyond the normal range now multiplies each modifier based on the current value instead of randomizing the value. Sanctifying an item now multiplies each modifier value based on the current value instead of randomizing values. Omen of corruption can no longer be obtained. Yeah. Martial, I'll let that one just sit. Martial weapons and flasks found in the campaign are now more likely to be of the highest base type available at that level. Thank God. Good. Hopefully that reduces a lot of the useless drops. The overall number of essences found in the campaign has been increased, though the proportion of these being essences of the infinite has been significantly decreased. This will lead to finding more useful essences as you progress. The amount of armor granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% more armor, tapering down to 15 at level 80 plus. Again, that goes with what they were saying about they wanted to give us more defense. So good. The amount of evasion granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 30. Same thing for evasion. And energy shield granted by items is now roughly 8% more at level 65, unchanged at level 80 plus. The Vile Robe armor base type now has 171 base energy shield, previously 184. The base armor of existing items will be automatically adjusted, while armor modifiers on existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb. That's why they're increasing the rate of its drop, because we're going to... where was I? Increase the base weapon range of some martial weapon base types. One-handed maces now have a base weapon range of 1.3, previously 1.1, 1.5 for two-handed maces, previously 1.3, and 1.4 for quarterstaffs, previously 1.3. The Obliterator bow and artillery bow base types now have 1.1 attacks per second, previously 1.15. The implicit modifier for Warden and Guardian bows now provides 25 to 35% chance of chain on additional time, previously 20 to 30. Existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb. The implicit modifier for Rabbit, Fury, and Magi talismans now provides plus 7-10 maximum rage, previously 8 to 12. Existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb. The implicit modifier for Volt Fang and Thunder Talisman now provides 20-30% magnitude of shock you inflict, previously 15 to 25. Existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb. Alternate quality items for Breach Catalysts may now be salvaged to return a portion of the catalysts used. The plus to level of all melee skill modifiers and two-handed attack weapons now has a value of plus 5. At tier 1, previously plus 7. The lower tiers have also been adjusted. So bye-bye plus 6 and plus 7s. The plus to level of all projectile skills, same thing. The plus the level of all melee skill modifiers on one-handed attack weapons now has a value of +4, previously +5. The plus the level of all projectile skills it's going down from +5 to +4. The +2 to level of projectile skill modifiers on quivers now has a value of +1. The plus to all level of gems on attack weapons can now only roll above level 18. Wow. Added surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow modifiers for quivers. The perfect essence of battle now provides +3 to level of attack skills on two-handed melee weapons and crossbows, previously 5. And +2 to level of attack skills on one-handed, previously 3 to 2. My God. Essence of Asteria now grants 20 to 23 increased energy shield recharge rate when applied to Fauci, previously 41 to 45. Holy shit, they halved it. Today's a sad day. What happened, Swee? Destiny 2 ends development on June 9th. Wow. They finally pulled the plug on it, eh? Wow. Crazy. That game has a warm spot in my heart. That's sad to hear. Damn it. Thanks for reading this, Sammy. I would have never, but listening, I'm all in. No worries, McRich. Mind Ruins now grant plus 20, 30, 40 maximum mana when socketed in armor. Instead, previously 15, 25, 35. 45, 60, 75 maximum mana when socketed in stabs and wands. Previously 30, 40, 50. And grants leech 2, 3, 4% of fizz damage as mana. Previously 1.52, 2.5. Super rough day for us Destiny fans. For sure, I'll enjoy the last expansion update. Yeah, I haven't played, on a side note, I haven't played Destiny 2, I don't know for how long. But now that I see they're ending in June, are they going to do an update, one last update? Oh my God, really? June 9th? Oh, wow. Okay. Last update, June 9th. Okay. Bro, before my quitting, I probably had 150, 160 raids completed under my belt. That's how much I played Destiny 2. When it first came out, I played on PC. Sorry. I played on Xbox, PS4, and then when it came on PC, I played on PC, and then I had to cut out the consoles. But I had at one point, I had 6 max characters on both consoles. Okay. Rebirth, that's sad, man. Rebirth Ruins now grant gain 15, 25, 35 per life enemy killed when socketed in a martial weapon. Previously 10, 20, 30. And now grants regenerated 0.35, 0.4, 0.5 maximum life per second when socketed in armor. Okay, see, these have gone up in value. That's sweet. I only have around 190 Sherpas on Scourge of the Past. Oh my God. Oh my God, McRich. Damn, we've got to do a raid together. Mind you, I haven't played the game in forever, so I wouldn't even know. Yeah, anyway. Can't wait for the PoE 2 update. Yeah, we're going to be busy. Inspiration Ruins now grant 10, 20, 30 mana per enemy killed when socketed in a martial weapon. Previously 8, 16, 24. You're down and get a good team together. Yeah, if I go back, I'll let you know. And grants 20, 25, 30 increased mana regeneration rate when socketed in stabs and wands. Previously 16, 20, 24. Okay, these are all buffs. Stone Ruins now cause 20, 30, 40 increased stun. Built up when socketed. Previously 20, 25, 30. So a buff. Okay, buff. Stone gets a buff. Vision gets a buff. 8, 12. Yep. There you go. Vision gets a buff. Desert. Looks like a buff. Yep. Glacial Ruins. Buff. Storm. Buff. Robust. Little bit of a buff. Adept. Little bit of a buff. Resolve. Buff. Standard Ruin Bonded modifier. Now grants 20 life, 20 mana when socketed in armor. Previously 10 life and 10 mana. So doubled. Lesser Rebirth Ruins now grant 4% increased energy shield recharge rate when socketed. Previously 12. Anything that has energy shield, nerf. Rebirth Ruins now grant 6, previously 15. Greater Rebirth Ruins, previously 18, now 8. Kraken's Ruins, butchered that. Again, energy shield was 15, now 30 increased ES charge rate. Lady Hestra's Rune of Winter no longer adds 19 to 28 cold damage. It instead grants 19 to 28 cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies. Thaneled's Rune of Spring no longer adds 1 to 60 lightning damage. Instead, it grants 1 to 60 lightning damage against shocked enemies. Man, these are impactful. Thanemerk's Rune of Summer no longer adds 23 to 34 fire damage. Instead, it adds 23 to 30 against ignited enemies. All idols can now also be socketed into scepters. Idol of Agrin now grants 20% increased curse duration when socketed in a scepter. Idol of Eshta now grants 15% cost efficiency. It now grants 30% increased mana recovery rate while your companion in your presence when socketed in a scepter. Idol of Grold now is socketed into boots. It now grants 50% increased total power counted by war cries, previously 20. Now grants 15% increased damage for each different companion in your presence when socketed into a scepter. The bonded modifier now grants 30% increased glory generation, previously 20. Idol of Maxarius now grants 0.2 flash charges per second when socketed into a scepter. Ooh. Idol of Ralakesh now grants 40% increased armor, evasion, energy while your companion is in your presence when socketed into a scepter. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but Idol of, like, there's other things you probably want to put in there, but what do I know? Now grants allies in your presence have 8% increased movement speed when socketed in a scepter. The bonded modifier now grants 20% reduced slow potency, previously 15. Idol of Thrudana now grants allies in your presence deal 13 to 20 added attack chaos damage when socketed in the scepter. Bear Idol now grants 10% increased area effect when socketed in helmets, previously 8. The bonded modifier now grants 12% increased reservation efficiency of companion skills when socketed in helmets. Boar Idol now grants allies in your presence. Okay. Lots of idols, guys. Lots of idols. It's American Idol here. Maximum rage on ruby jewels can now roll between +1 to 2 maximum rage, previously 1. Existing items can now possibly update it to new value with a divine arm. Increased chaos damage on sapphire jewels can now roll between 7 to 13, previously 6 to 12. Existing items can possibly divine orb. Suffix modifiers granting faster start of ES recharge can no longer roll on Foci, depending what time zone you're in, intelligence, body armors, or jewels. Increased energy shield recharge rate suffix modifiers can now roll on intelligence body armors. The implicit modifier on the arcane remnant and sacramental robe body armor is now 15-25% increased energy shield recharge rate instead of 40 to 50 faster start of energy. This change does not affect existing items. The fevered prefix modifier can no longer roll on time lost sapphire and sapphire jewels. The of diffusion, of dispersal, and of enlivening suffix modifier can no longer roll on body armor and Foci. The of buffering suffix modifier now grants 12% increased. Okay, this is all ES. Cast speed modifiers on rings and amulets are no longer shared with Foci and wands. For rings and amulets, these modifiers now roll at slightly higher levels. The highest tier cast speed modifier of rings now rolls at level 60, and at level 66 for amulets. The maximum value of these modifiers are unchanged. Desecrated modifiers granting instant leech can no longer roll. Existing items will not be affected by this change. The Squire's hybrid physical damage and accuracy modifier. Okay. Whoa. Oswald no longer undercuts you for the priceless idols found in Act 3, now offering you 3, 4,000, and 6,000 gold for each, previously 500, 1,000. Okay. The gold price of weapons for asynchronous trade have been increased by approximately 50%. Okay, we'll see how that works out. The desecrated map modifier of Union is no longer functional. This was a legacy modifier that only existed in early access leagues. We're still in early access, though. Okay, whatever. Monster changes. The culling strike threshold for normal enemies is now 35 of their maximum life, previously 30. Monster leech resistance now starts at a later level, and values are lower at every level. All monster rarities now have the same amount of leech resistance. Good, healthy economy, I guess. Well, yeah. Essence monster packs are now affected by modifiers to pack size. Ooh. As merry spirits that are released from monsters now retain their power and empower other spirits released from the monsters, the beam from the priest of the sun will no longer ignore some walls. Fuck. Thank you. You will now refill some flash charges when Viper and Imperial soldiers constrict the size of the arena. Hell yes! The Burning Dead in Ogam Village now deal a portion of their damage as fire, previously purely physical. Improve the visual and telegraphing of Lightning Doriani's elite monsters. Okay, good. Yeah. Quest change. You can no longer enter Plunder's Point until you have turned in all 4 map pieces in King's March. You now receive a greater mind rune in the Halls of the Dead while interacting with Nabeli, previously a lesser mind rune. You no longer need to visit the Halini Gates in order to access Trader Passage if you haven't already freed Risu. Ooh, nice little campaign thing. User interface changes. Bug fixes. Wow, we're almost done. Added accessibility settings to increase the size of pop-ups. This can be found in the UI section. Added a dedicated keybind to perform dodge roll, which will not cause the player to sprint. Yes! Oh my god, this impacts me so much. Which will not cause the player to sprint when held down. This keybind is unbound by default and must be manually assigned to input options if you wish to use it. Nice. Added a show only available option to the hideout decorations list when using mouse and keyboard. For players using click to move, clicking to move while channeling a skill that can be used while moving will no longer interrupt channeling. This should significantly improve the usability of skills such as Flame Breath and Incinerate and click on move. Improved visual clarity, load times, and performance on Acts 1 and 3 world maps. Additionally, they have been made more accurate, reflect the in-game directional of area layouts. Skill information pop-outs no longer move modified stats to the top of the panel. They are still shown in blue. The notification that shows when an item in your merchant tab shop has sold now displays a different message when the sold item is in a different league. The reroll button in the ritual UI now pulses when you have free rerolls available. Empowered minions from various modifiers now update the text. The augmentation stash tab has been updated now as 5 sections. Marking an enemy now shows the mark on their life bar. Maximum rage, rage loss delay, and rage loss per second are now displayed on the character panel. Increase the maximum character limit of search text boxes to 250 characters. Copying an item's text now always copies the advanced description format. Searching by an item's text will now match the advanced description format. You can now set favorite trades on your currency exchange when using your mouse and keyboard. Yep. You can now pin a tracking scroll to your social profile to display to your friends, guild, and party members. You can now preview microtransactions, weapon skins in the cosmetic shop without needing the applicable weapon type equipped. Added a top-down camera view for editing your hideout when using a controller. Added a feature to quickly change the currency you're currently applying when playing with a controller. Rework the currency exchange UI when playing with a controller. There you go, console guys. Improved target selection of items. Controller. Updated and reconstructed the options menu. Updated and restructured the options menu. Enabled in-game clock options for PlayStation and Xbox. Microtransaction changes. Enabled the following existing armor set microtransactions for use in Path of Exile 2. Enabled the following existing back attachment microtransactions for the use of PoE 2. So all you guys that spent all that money in PoE 1. Enabled the following existing helmet for use in PoE 2. This is too much reading. I'll just play. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to, JJ. Enabled all the remaining portrait frame microtransactions for use in PoE 2. Enabled all the, Enabled fishy trapped web. Enabled the existing archer drop. Yeah. Enabled the existing torture maze. Basically, that stuff's coming to PoE 2. The Exile's pilfering ring and tracking scroll crafting. Outcomes. And now we'll track Hainakora's lock and fracturing orb items. Okay. The tracking scroll of headhunting has been updated to also track some new bosses. Okay. Bug fixes. Let's go. Fix the bug where life flasks cannot always be used while at full life when the enduring elixir pathfinder and pass. Fix the bug where the ritual sacrifice skill gained a cooldown at level 20 specifically. Information about using ritual sacrifice on yourself has now been folded into the skill's description rather than being described separately on the As Whispers Demand passive. This is purely a descriptive change. Fixed a bug where Pounce was providing additional mark effect to Predator's mark or circuited marks. Fixed an issue that prevented Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye from properly rotating to follow their target while using Rapid Shot and similar skills. Fixed an issue that allowed certain skills to be socketed into Mirage and Mirage Deadeye that should have been prevented. Fixed a bug that caused Devour and Feral Invocation to not interact correctly. Fixed a bug where minion instability did not bypass Last Gasp. Fixed a bug where Thunderstorm could be created out of bounds. Fixed an issue where Hollow Palm technique was not providing its bonuses to most skills that could be used with any martial weapon. Hollow Palm technique now replaces your unarmed base damage for affected attacks, rather than adding damage on top of base unarmed damage. Fixed the bug that could cause modifiers to unarmed critically hit chance to not be applied to display critical hit chance on the skill information pop-out. Fixed several issues with mechanics that make modifiers to number of projectiles apply to other values instead. Ooh. Fix some cases where some stats giving chances for additional project did not apply to skills, like Rain of Arrows that use the number of projectiles to determine the number of things to place. Fix some cases where some stats for additional chains did not apply to some beam skills. Fix the bug where the benefits quality provided to Comet were not functioning. Fix the bug where Devour and Lightning Warp were able to devour or explode some corpses they shouldn't. Fix the bug where Poisonous Spore support did not have appropriate vendor and asynchronous trade prices. Fix the bug where Burning Inscription support would create Ignite Ground on a monster set of on top of the Runic Inscription. Fix the bug where the Low Tolerance passive skill was incorrectly described as increased effect of poison instead of increased magnitude. Fix the bug where Arctic Howl could empower you in human form while using Echoing Cry. Fix some issues where ice crystals from Glacial Boat could have weird damage calculations in some situations. Fix the bug where the Wrathpith Globe unique focus was missing its unique on-cast effect. Existing items won't be fixed by this unless you use a Divine Orb on them. Fix the bug where Tactician's Cannon's ready notable passive skill will not cause totems to attack when the player uses Molten Blast, Rolling Magna, All Barrage, or Power Charged Falling Thunder. Fix the bug where the Melted Maelstrom unique ultimate mana flask was unable to hit enemies. Fix the bug where attacks that stuck with both weapons simultaneously while dual wielding would have no longer attack time than intended. The intention is for these skills to use the average attack time of your weapon. Fix the bug where skills that cost a percentage of maximum ES could not be used if you had no maximum ES. Fix the bug where the stack giving a chance for projectiles to be able to chain from terrain did not correctly count how many chains had been used, allowing projectiles in some cases to chain forever from terrain. Fix the bug where Forge Hammer slams would not count when tracking slams for the Titan's ancestral empowerment notable. Fix the bug where heightened charge support would not apply to Flicker Strike. Fix the bug where Living Lightning 2 did not scale. Fix the bug where Into the Breach would not benefit from the Selfless Remnant support gem. Fix numerous bugs related to the player version of his very spirit possessions. Fix Dahlia's Desire lineage support. Heavy Armor. Shockwave, Echo Cry, Melting Maelstrom. All right, guys. I'm going to take a bio break. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry. Oh my god. Where's my camera? Oh, there it is. Where the fudge were we? Okay. Fixed initiative prevented the bloated Miller's backhand swing from being able to be blocked, parried, or evaded. Fixed a bug that caused some skills. Fixed. Roga had a higher infusion count. Experimental monsters. Wow. Okay, that's it. Holy fuck, that was a lot, man. Where is it? Are there any comments yet? Did I read that right? 99% of skill changes are just heavy nerfs. The resource you're looking for does not exist or has been removed. Nerfing comment for some reason and not buffing self-cast spells again. This game is leaning towards cast on bullshit. Can't even enjoy being a fire-only mage anymore now this. Warrior nerfs, no nerfs to Twister, and buffs to Snipe. Cast on crit untouched, Spark untouched, Pathfinder still godly, Blood Mage buffed, Spark again it is then. I didn't like running Vertex anyway. Witch Hunter catching strays. Oh shit. Damn, GGG really hates faster start of ES recharge. Surprised this disciple didn't get burned while they were at it. Why did Rolling Slam get nerfed? These changes are appreciated. The game was too easy at the top end. I can see the absolute retards crashing out as usual, empowering their other minion. Yeah, looks like they didn't touch what I want to play, so my only question now is if if I want to play what is probably going to be one of the popular builds. Ignites inflicted on targets by all ground that has been ignited can no longer compound. Yep. You know, I don't understand why people are. Why would anyone want anything nerfed? Like, anyway. Well, that's the patch notes, boys. That is a lot of reading. It is a lot of reading. Anyway, I am going to close the lights, take these off, park this, and start trying to put. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. Yeah. Anyway, that's my inside voice talking right now. But anyway, I'm gonna call it, boys. I got a lot of note taking to do here, and yeah, we are now. What are we? 7 days? Where the hell is it? What's the patch notes? Yep. 7 days, 18 hours, and 4 minutes away. 7 days. So now we're going to go into full plan mode. So tune in for the next one. Good night. Where's my thing? Oh, there it is.